everyone, and welcome to our seventh installment of our Guardian Ad Litem Communicast. And today we have a very special guest with us. I'm going to get this right. It's Emily Janas, who is the Education and Prevention Manager at Women in Distress in Broward County. So welcome, Emily. Happy to have you here with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm really excited to be talking with you, especially with Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month.
Just share with us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up at Women in Distress.
So I actually have a background in social work, which is how a lot of folks get into domestic violence work and child welfare work in general. I've done my undergraduate internship at the state attorney's office in Tallahassee, which was really my first introduction to domestic violence. So obviously there are all sorts of crimes that the state attorney's office deals with, but just such a large percentage of them were domestic violence because unfortunately it's such a large, widespread issue that I got a lot of experience during that internship working with survivors and working through the court system. And that's sort of how I got really interested in this work. And I started then as a co-located child welfare domestic violence advocate with the Certified Domestic Violence Center up in Tallahassee, which is Refuge House. So there's actually throughout the state of Florida a network of certified domestic violence centers that are all independent organizations, but they serve every single county in the state of Florida, which is amazing that Florida has that you have a center that is in every county serving it, that survivors have access to in the community. And I was doing a lot of direct service work there and got a whole lot of information and knowledge and skills, just really got entrenched in the work. But I'm actually from Broward County and I was looking to move back here. And one thing that I was really interested in as well in terms of my professional career was moving into more advocacy role outside of just working with survivors, but working with the community on the education side, on the prevention side of not just intervening in domestic violence situations and providing services to survivor as they experience the violence, but being able to work on preventing it in the first place, right? And doing that social change work. So a prevention specialist position opened up at Women in Distress. And I ran right for that because that was exactly what I wanted to do. And I've been here ever since, and I just love the work.
Can you share with us some information about Women in Distress for the audience who are not aware of your organization and what they do?
We serve anyone in the community who is affected or a survivor of domestic violence. So one thing I really love to say first is just we do not only serve women. Our name is a little misleading that way. And even though we know domestic violence and dating violence still primarily affect women, we know that unfortunately anyone can be a survivor. So we serve men, LGBTQ folks, older folks, kids, and of course women. We do have an emergency shelter. We do have a pet shelter now with that emergency shelter, so folks can bring their pets in, which is a huge barrier breaker, for folks, trying to, get over those obstacles of how to leave their abusive partner. And one really important thing I want to emphasize is all of our services are absolutely free and confidential.
So in the shelters, is it only women or is it open also to men?
That is also open to anyone. So anyone can be qualified for any of our services. The only limit to shelter is minors on their own who are not emancipated. But other than that one kind of limit, we can, any services are open to everyone, including shelter.
That is great information and good to know because as we know, domestic violence is not only done to women, it's also men and different communities. So thank you for sharing that. That's very important information. Another question, being with WID, what is one of your most favorite experience that you've had being there?
It's a lot to choose from. I'll say, on the prevention side, I think we do the most hopeful work at Women in Distress because we're working with the folks that are safe and we're trying to maintain that safer future for them. One of my favorites have just been some of the really great professionals trainings that I've done where you can see the shift in someone's thinking.
Wonderful. Thank you for doing that and sharing the information within the community. And as we talk about sharing in community, and you mentioned earlier, is that February is National Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Can you share if there's anything that Women in Distress is doing in the community to share or to enlighten our teens on this important topic?
We are doing a Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month parent-youth training series. So these are 3 workshops that are being offered to both parents and youth ages 11 and up to talk about teen dating violence. We're doing one on digital abuse and boundaries, especially because of the pandemic and just the increased presence of digital media and technologies in all of our lives. And then teen dating violence and LGBTQ relationships. And we wanted to focus on parents and youth this year because we know that that's one of the biggest influences that youth have when they're thinking about relationships and they're starting to get into their first relationships is what do those relationships at home look like? And do I feel comfortable sharing with my parent what's going on? Those are free and open and will be a really great opportunity to learn, ask questions, and start those healthy conversations.
For sharing that, because our community do need to be aware that there is teen dating violence, maybe right in front of us, and we don't even know it's happening in our very own home. So this will be great information for both teens and for their parents or their caregivers. So thank you for doing that and for having that event coming up and bringing the awareness to light within our communities. Another thing that I was curious about is how has the pandemic affected the program?
Sure. So, you know, and some folks might have even heard news stories about it. Unfortunately, domestic violence doesn't stop when emergencies happen, whether it's a global pandemic, a hurricane, or anything else. So we know that it's still happening. So we still want to be present for survivors in the community, just like Guardian at Litem is still doing things. Because emergency shelter, of course, is a very physical thing that's obviously still open and has been since the pandemic started. We've taken into precaution social distancing procedures, masks, sanitizing, things like that, but that shelter is still open and available to survivors if they need that service.
That's great to know that you're still functioning and you're still open so survivors can call in. Can you share with us quickly hotline number?
Yes, it is 954-761-1133. We also do have a TTY TDD line, which I'm happy to provide. It is, and this is for folks who are deaf and hard of hearing, that's 954-527-5385.
Thank you so much for sharing that. The next question that's very important to any nonprofit organization is what would be women in distress biggest need right now?
I will say definitely any food items and hygiene items. So canned food and non-perishable food that is new, that has not been just sitting in the back of your pantry. Clothing, we always accept clothing. You can drop that off at our thrift store at any time. I know in January, we always get a bump in clothing donations because folks clean out their closets, but those are things that we always need. So all donations are being accepted at our thrift store. Our thrift store is accepting donations on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. We do not accept on Friday, or do not accept donations on Friday or Monday or Sunday. That's open from 10 to 6 and it's in Margate. It's called the WID Blooming Sales Thrift Store. So that address is on Google as well as on our website, womenindistress.org.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank you so much for joining us for this Communicast and sharing information about women in distress. I personally didn't know a lot about it. I've always heard the name, but didn't know. And I got the opportunity, I think it was 2 years ago, to have had a conversation with you. So I want to thank you so much for all that you're doing, Emily, and for all that your organization is doing to help survivors. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to all the wonderful events that you have coming in February or coming this month in February. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kerry-Ann. I appreciate it. It's always good talking with you.
Wonderful. Have a great day.